Okay, perfect. Well, look, the numbers are climbing, so I think it's probably best that we get started anyway, because just for a change, we've got a packed agenda. This morning we are looking at skills. I should say, if there's anyone who's here for the first time, welcome. I'm Lorna, and Will, my colleague, is here as well from Solent. And if this is the first time that you've joined us, because we have had a few new people join the network, we run these meetings monthly, and they have different themes. Today we're looking at skills, and we're always happy to talk to people about being speakers. One meeting in 3 is a networking meeting where Will and I's hair goes grey overnight, because we'll have 7 or 8 speakers and we have to manage. It's like herding kids, but to make sure that sorry, someone's ringing me on my laptop at the same time, that's appropriate, to try and make sure that we stick to time. And then we do themed meetings in between. So today's about skills. I've got a couple of updates for you before we do anything else. The LEP has launched a new funding opportunity. It's called the Build Back Greener Fund. It was launched this week. You can, if I just check my facts, businesses can claim for grant funding. If I get the numbers up, sorry, excuse me. From between £100,000 and £1 million, actually. So there is a webinar this afternoon, which I'll ask Will to put a link in the chat for you to register for that if you haven't already done so and you'd like to find out about it. But that's a brand new funding opportunity. With my other hat on, my Maritime UK national hat on, I've put a request out to maritime employers to get involved in a programme that's called Maritime Masters. Now, Maritime Masters is a programme that links industry with master's students at university who are studying marine or maritime qualifications, and helps them with research topics for their final project dissertation. There are 9 universities, including Southampton, that are part of that programme. We had the finals event in London, I don't know, a month or 6 weeks ago, and about half of the projects submitted were around decarbonisation. I'm really keen that we extend the breadth of the project subjects, and to do that I need more employers to get involved. We're looking for topics that cover one of the 5 priorities for Maritime UK nationally, which are innovation, regional growth, competitiveness, environment and people. And if you as an organisation think that you might have something, it would be useful for you to have a master's student researching and are prepared to engage in a kind of long distance internship whilst they do that study, then I would be really glad to hear from you. Because I really want to, I only took over running that programme in the summer, and I want to, as I say, make the research topics a bit broader. I'm running an information webinar meeting on Monday the 29th, and I'll put the registration link for that in the chat. But if that's something that interests you and you'd like to have a look at, no, I'm not asking you to commit to anything. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just we need to make sure that our master's students are studying topics that are really relevant to the industry, and are hopefully answering some of the questions that you need answered for your business. So if that's something that's of interest for you, once I'm finished rabbiting, I'll put that link in the chat. Really good news on the Institute of Technology bid. We've got through to the next stage. So the next stage is a sort of a formal interview, and that's happening at the start of December. I haven't got anything else that I can tell you about that at the moment, but we've got through the first stage, we've got through the second stage, we've got to interview. So that is to bring an Institute of Technology to the Solent that will look at engineering, digital, technology and maritime. And that is really good news, but we're by no means on the home run yet. But it's just to let you know that's happening. I'm hoping I'll get someone from the project team to talk to us about how that went at the next meeting in December. And finally, there's 1 or 2 people on this call that are helping me with this. We've been asked to provide a panel for a maritime question time session at Southampton Uni, and that is happening on the 6th of December. I'll let you know how that goes. It may be something that we do a couple of times a year, and what I've asked is that it's not just sold to the marine and maritime students as an activity, but we go broader across all the different subject areas, because obviously as a sector we need to attract people that, I don't know, want to do HR or marketing or logistics or whatever, not just naval architecture. So that's my update. So the Build Back Greener Fund webinar, there's two, one of which is today, but the link's already in the chat, and I'll put the one up for Maritime Masters later as well. Okay, so moving on to our agenda. Matthew Leopold is here with us this morning, and I'm going to hand the screen over to him. There we go. Matt, over to you. You're going to talk to us about Kickstart.
Thank you, Lorna. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Matt Leopold. I work for the Department for Work and Pensions. I'd just like to say thank you very much to Lorna and Maritime UK for inviting me to talk to you about Kickstart Scheme this morning. Could I have a next slide, please, Will? Thanks. So you may well have heard of the Kickstart Scheme. I think it's fairly well embedded in the public consciousness, been going for around a year now. So the Kickstart Scheme is a major initiative that provides funding to create new job placements for 16 to 24-year-olds who are in receipt of universal credit and who are also at risk of long-term unemployment. The Kickstart Scheme is part of the government's plan for jobs. That was a plan that was announced by the Chancellor back in July 2020, and this is one of the government's responses to the effects of the pandemic on the economy and on employment. Kickstart is a £2 billion fund which creates paid 6-month work placements for young people who might be at risk of long-term unemployment. And so far, Kickstart has helped over 100,000 young people to take their first steps into the world of work. Could I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So, what's the support available for employers? Well, Kickstart supports you, employers, in a number of ways. So there's no limit on the number of placements that you as an employer can offer. And through our grant funding, Kickstart pays wages and related costs covering 100% of the national minimum wage, relevant to age, of course, for 25 hours per week for a total of 6 months. And it also pays an employer's national insurance contributions and the minimum automatic enrolment pension contributions as well. So you can employ a young person for additional hours beyond the 25 hours if you wish. Those additional hours, however, would be met by you, the employer, as we fund up to 25 hours. So for every Kickstart job placement, an employer receives £1,500, so that's £1,500 per young person that you take on under Kickstart, and that's for setup costs, such as paying for training, uniforms, equipment. During a placement, that's a 6-month placement, you'll naturally support the young person to develop their employability skills, which is part of what Kickstart's all about. So you can apply for the Kickstart Scheme grant online, and you can do this yourself or by getting help from a Kickstart Gateway organisation who's already working with the scheme. Our Gateway organisation partners can help you to manage a process and provide the employability support for the young person. And there is further information and a list of Gateway organisations available on gov.uk. So while there's no obligation to retain the young person at the end of their 6-month placement, we do hope that employers will want to do this, and many employers have done so already and kept the young person on beyond the end of their placement. This is because those employers saw the investment that they've made in training and supporting the young person in work over the course of 6 months, and that young person has become very much part of the team over that period. Could I have the next slide, please, Will? So what's the benefit for employers? So Kickstart doesn't just help the young person, but it supports you employers to inject new talent into your business. And also by welcoming those Kickstart eligible young people into your business, it provides you with an investment in future resource that could support your succession planning. It also supports your business to build capacity of specific skills you may need in your business or your sector. And this could help in avoiding future skills shortages and future-proof skills needs within your sector. There's also, of course, the societal benefits of demonstrating social responsibility in a local community by investing in young people. Could I have the next slide, please? So there are particular criteria for each job placement you offer. Firstly, the Kickstart job placements must be new jobs and must not replace existing or planned vacancies. Also, Kickstart must not cause existing employees to lose work or reduce their working hours. And for each job placement, employers must help the young person to become more employable. Now, you can do this by helping a young person to develop new skills in the workplace. You can help them look for long-term work if you're not going to retain them beyond the 6 months. You can provide careers advice, support with CV and interview preparations. You can also use external training providers to do that, such as the National Careers Service, one of our partners in DWP. Of course, checks are undertaken to ensure employers deliver quality job placements for young people. Before issuing any grant funding, we do check that the employer has a plan to provide.
Has Matt just frozen for me, or are other people not hearing him either? Right, okay. I wonder if we should, Will, let's move on and go on with Rachel and David, and we can come back to Matt if he manages to rejoin us, if that's okay. Rachel and David, is that okay with you?
Yeah, totally fine with us. Am I able to share my screen?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I've got Rachel and David are here from the Cowes Enterprise College. They're going to talk to you about their unusual and very exciting Maritime Futures programme and their approach to engaging with employers, etc. And Matt, if you can hear me, we will come back to you once your connection is a little bit more secure, if that's okay. Over to you, David and Rachel.
Okay, well, thanks for having us. It's really exciting to be able to present to everybody in the room. I'm going to start us off and give you a broad sense of what we're doing with our curriculum, and then hand over to David, who is our head of Key Stage 5 and also careers lead at the Academy. Okay, well, welcome to our Maritime Futures curriculum. And what we do with this curriculum is work with employers to really get real world experiences all the way through our curriculum back from when children are aged 11. So we connect in by learning through maritime examples to make a really relevant curriculum that children enjoy, but all the time we're also making sure that we connect in so children learn as much as they can about the fantastic maritime industry and all the different jobs and careers and possibilities that are out there as well. David, are you able to push the slide forward? Thank you, and just click on again. Okay, so here are some of our lovely students out learning how to sail, because the maritime work that we do is both kind of classroom based and also really practical. But what we're aiming to do is to offer as many opportunities as we can for our children to learn through the maritime sector. So, for instance, we'll have naval architects come to talk, and the children will be mentored by boat builders in DT, so that whenever they're learning in a subject, we connect it in with a maritime example and have somebody from the world of work coming to really engage the children and help them to learn more about what they could do in the future. And this is all in response to the 2050 paper from the government looking at the future of maritime, and knowing that our children don't always have the strongest of aspirations, and yet we've also got a fantastic industry on our doorstep, which is really multifaceted and diverse for them all, and yet which they may not be finding their way into. And that if that happens at national level, we know the maritime industry won't be as rich by 2050 as we'd all want it to be. Okay, if we move on. Now, I know you won't be able to read this slide. I'm not expecting you to be able to. This is just a snippet of a document that's on our website and available of our Maritime Futures curriculum. But what I hope you can get from this is a flavour of it. So our Key Stage 3 journey, which you can see across the red line, takes the children through a whole range of experiences across all their subjects, where they can learn through maritime. So you pick up on a few things here. Visit from the Shipwreck Museum. For that, they have a talk from an archaeological diver, and then they go and see the Mary Rose and work with professional historians there, for instance, to find out about how history can connect in with the maritime industry. But you'll also see there's a technology in action visit to CCAM, where our children, so every child in Key Stage 3 every year has a day at CCAM working alongside kind of maritime engineers on making projects and using materials that we couldn't provide for them in school. And that project is all around finding out what types of designs affect how boats move in the water. So there's a lot of science behind it. You'll see we've got some geography in here. So for instance, looking at where the container ships that we see out from our school window are coming from, and using those examples on our doorstep to understand how connected we are here. Because one of our weaknesses on an island is that some of our children feel that they're quite isolated. So the aim of that unit is both to kind of really broaden out their careers knowledge, but also to help them to feel really connected with the world around them as well. And so it goes on. Lots of really rich topics, all taught with the support of the maritime industry. Okay, so we've got here some kind of simple examples, just to go into a bit more detail. And one of them is that the children learn in science all about how sails work and the forces behind how different types of sails will cause a boat to move differently. They'll then go into IT and they'll use CAD/CAM technology to design their sails, and then they'll make them in technology. They'll make the hull and look at different hull designs in technology as well. And we'll have boat builders in to support them on that project. And we're doing all of this when they're 11. I've mentioned the Mary Rose project and containerization, but we've also got here in geography a really nice project about coastal defences. So the children go out on a boat with the harbour master and with local geographers and coastal experts. They look at the coastal defences. They then come back into school and evaluate how the council spent the coastal defence budget and whether they feel it was well spent. And then they present their findings back to members of the council and other local geographers in a big showcase piece. So hopefully that's giving you a flavour of the way we're aiming to have a relevant, dynamic, interesting curriculum that brings all their slightly more academic, what could be quite dry learning to life, while really getting our children excited about the potential of going into maritime careers. So we've had endorsement from the Department for Education, which is really exciting. The Permanent Secretary has visited the Academy, and we understand it was her first ever Academy secondary school visit, so she doesn't get out a lot. We were absolutely thrilled to have Let come and support us in that visit. And she came to see our Maritime Futures work because she was very excited about the idea of seeing careers drawn all the way down to 11-year-olds in the curriculum in a way that we're doing here. And she was very complimentary. So we have put in a little quote of one of the things she said, but she said we were showing really brilliant careers education, and the way we were using business and employers to inspire our children was something that she particularly was thrilled to see. I'm going to hand over to David now, and he's going to take on a bit more information about the careers side.
So our careers curriculum is woven across all subjects from year 7 right up until year 13. And we've worked really hard on making sure that there's a comprehensive journey for our students to take, where they understand the skills development involved in to become really good employees, but also to understand the skills that they need to make the decisions that they need to make for their future, what courses to take, what degree level apprenticeship to go on to, or what university to go on, or so on, and also what skills they need to understand and where they need to visit. So we have a portal within our school that shows a range of employer encounter videos for all our students to get really understanding in what they need to understand for their futures. We've also had brilliant advice from an advisory body of experts to help us develop our curriculum. And our curriculum portal looks like this. It's called OAT Futures, and OAT Futures helps our students to get all the information they need about different careers within the maritime industry. And they need to understand that careers aren't just about the one subject that happens within the company, but it's also about the entire range of skills within that company too. So lawyers, maritime experts, architects, and so on, not just sailors, not just maritimers, not just deckhands. And that's really important to us for them to understand as well. We have also begun to develop a qualification. And Rachel, would you be able to develop that a bit further, please?
Yes, definitely. Back to me. So what we realised through our work at Key Stage 3, which is 11 to 14-year-olds, was that there's then a bit of a gap before all the fantastic kind of level 3 Key Stage 5 qualifications around maritime kick in. And the qualifications that do exist in maritime at Key Stage 4, so that's GCSE age, are actually very niche and close a lot of doors down quite young for students. So we've been developing what we hope will be a national qualification that will be what's now called a technical award, but you may have heard of as a BTEC previously, which we aim to be put on performance tables so that it's a really desirable qualification for schools all across the country to deliver. So we're at draft stage at the moment. It's been a very exciting project to be involved in. And last week we wrote out to 500 coastal schools across the country to just develop awareness and gain initial interest in our Tech Award, which we aim to be teaching for the first time in September 2023. And that, we hope, will be our kind of humble way of contributing to the national landscape on maritime in terms of education. But we'll fill that gap so that children that learn about these careers much earlier, which is what the government want, all the way back down to year 7 now, will be able to actually take that interest forward, still in a broad and balanced way at GCSE, to aid the decision making as they move on to Key Stage 5. Because what we find with our research is that one of the reasons children don't go on to maritime courses that are out there is because they haven't been able to kind of see a coherent journey through up to the age of 16 to get them into the right mindset and confidence and excitement to move forward on that. When the Permanent Secretary visited, we did talk to her about the qualification and just got a bit of lobbying in, but we are really hopeful about the difference that could make at national level.
And developing our curriculum obviously is really key to us, and we need to ensure that we've got longevity about this. So we have developed a Just Giving page, and we really hope that you'll be able to contribute. Rachel, do you have more to say on that?
Yes, it's a really expensive curriculum to run this, because we want children to be out there on boats, learning to sail, but beyond that, getting over to the Mary Rose, getting to CCAM, working with engineers, and all these experiences to put on for every child across year 7, 8, 9, they do really add up actually. And the funding that we get from government to run our curriculum doesn't cover this kind of approach to learning. And we just wouldn't want funding to be something that held back the work we can do at maritime level, particularly as we're trying to work at nationally to really influence the landscape. So there is the opportunity here for us just to let you know that if some of this feels like the way you'd like education to move, for us to kind of be a prototype school and hopefully getting a lot of other schools to work in this way to really make a difference to the future of the maritime industry, then it would be fantastic if if there was any support out there financially. So we do have a Just Giving page. It's really easy to find by basically Googling Just Giving and Cowes Enterprise College or Maritime Futures, which is the name of our curriculum. And there's much more information there. But you can see that we've got this off to a fairly good start, but you know, it would be amazing to see our 7% go a little bit higher. And the page outlines how you could support, but it's, you know, you can support a child through the curriculum, a class, a year group, a trip. So far, for instance, one organisation kind of picked one experience and said, we would love to support this one opportunity and to know that we're the ones that have been able to have that happen. So I can see a question coming in about, is there a link between courses and, I couldn't see the end of it, but I'm presuming it's about increased uptake. Because we've gone all the way back to year 7, the children on the curriculum are now in year 9. So it's too early to see these children following through. What we can tell you is that I think it was 68% of the year group said that they would want to carry on with maritime if they could do with the qualification at GCSE. So we kind of really ignited their excitement that way. And David can tell you more, but the general buzz we have about maritime, which has fed into the older students as well, particularly with our careers work, has definitely led to some really exciting maritime kind of university courses, which we don't think have had students on before, would we, David?
Absolutely not. We've had our first students go to Southampton University to study the maritime engineering courses and also maritime architecture as well, which is really, really exciting for us. And seeing our younger students, seeing those students go off to do those exciting courses just inspired them to look at further maritime careers as well. And what's key for me is that this maritime project has really kicked off the students' interest in looking at careers in general and also understanding the job roles that are entailed within different careers. And the key element for us is them understanding that even though it's a maritime curriculum and a maritime career they're looking at, it's not just about boats and rigging, it's also about logistics, it's about legal work, it's about marketing and so on and so on. So every single possible career out there is encompassed within the maritime industry, and we can use that as a hook to really get them involved, because as we've said, looking out of our wonderful school building here, we can see the sea, we see the containers going past, we see the sailing boats, we see the vessels, the cruise ships, and we see all the cargo containers, everything happening here. And we can really explain to them and use that as a visual hook to say, you know, one day you could be involved in that incredible industry and follow those great careers and have a really fulfilling future.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we're so excited about is that the industry is so broad that it doesn't matter what subject you're passionate about or where your strengths lie, there is a pathway that you can fulfill all of that through maritime. And, you know, there aren't that many industries where that's the case. So, you know, we are really passionate about this. We've been thrilled to present it to you today, and we're really happy to also answer any questions and follow up in any way. I've put my details there in case you'd like to get in touch as well.
Yeah, we're open for questions and we've got time for that. If I can just add, I was there on the day that the permanent secretary for the DFE was over, and her mind was blown by what was going on there. She was very interested in the maritime sector and the economy locally. She wanted to know about raising aspirations. I don't think you said, David, but we talked that day about the number of your children that got into their first choice university as well. And the stats for that were off the chart, weren't they? So it's, whilst obviously this is the Maritime UK Solent business network, what we're all interested in here is raising aspirations for young people, retaining the talent in the Solent, that the people that are born here, train here, go to school here, so that the local businesses can benefit from that skills and people pipeline, also attracting other people in. I should have said this morning, we invited careers leaders from other schools and colleges to join us this morning as well, actually, because I thought it was really good for them to hear about what was happening within the sector locally. And as a careers professional and a former career leader at Eastleigh College, you know, it's not easy to bring in this sort of contextualized learning across the curriculum, but because we've got so much happening in maritime, it means there's lots for you to tag into. So if there's something in your business that you would like to share with CalSec so that they can look at whether or not it can be used in the curriculum. The day we were there, year 7s, and I think it was the 3rd week of term or something, we're learning about forces by designing a sailboat, a yacht. You know, now when I learned about forces at school, it was not hands-on in a technology classroom carving and shaping the hull of a boat to make it more efficient through the water. And I'm not a physicist, and I wasn't that excited about the subject. Had I been given the opportunity perhaps to design a yacht, you never know, I might be doing something completely different. And if I can just endorse also the Just Giving page, what I've learned in the 20 months since I've been doing this job is when I interview people about their own career pathway, it's very, very common. 2 things. Some people say to me they didn't go looking for maritime, they fell into it because they wanted to become, you want to do something in finances or insurance or in marketing or whatever. But they found that this was the business that was thriving in their part of the world. But so many people tell me that they fell in love with the sea through sailing, and that once you've experienced and enjoyed sailing or surfing or paddle boarding or whatever, that it kind of the sector grabs you. And I suppose that's what this request is for, really. It's to help make sure that those children get that contextualized learning across all the subjects and understand better the sector and get really excited about the opportunities that are open to them in whichever pathway they choose to follow. But let's try and get them on the water. So if you or your organisation has the, you know, is interested in sponsoring that project in any way, that would be amazing. We've got a couple of other people who've got questions. Chris, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so, well, my son, Blake Lucas, has been through the whole process. So, I mean, us as a family, I've got Toby Lucas that went to Cowes Enterprise, can't speak highly enough of the school, just amazing people there. He's at Southampton Solent doing graphic design. But my son, oldest son, as a family, we love the water, kayaking, paddleboarding. My son, Blake, started at Gunnar Sailing Club and started sailing there. Then ended up going through the whole process and then eventually ended up teaching there. Then went to UKSA and then was he's now a powerboat instructor, paddleboard instructor, sailing instructor. And from there, he then went to Southampton Solent and he did his degree there in boat design and production. Absolutely through with huge honours, as high as you can get, absolutely a star. He now works at Island Ribs on the island. And he now builds, designs, markets, sells, quotes, and does demonstrations on ribs for people that buy these boats. So he's gone through the whole process of Gunnar Sailing Club, UKSA teaching, earning some money there, found his sort of passion on the water, and gone right the way through the whole process. And he does sail around the world as well when he gets the time to. So he sails many different boats, be it, you know, Cowes, Ireland, France, wherever. So he's gone through the whole thing on the island. And my youngest son, Toby, was a rower. So he went in a different direction, but he rows for the island now, Southampton, Solent. So yeah, there is a career. And as you said, it's you can go in, you know, he's now been able to sell boats, the ribs. You know, there's the marketing side, there's the quoting side, there's the designing side. It just opens up a whole world of, it's not just about, you know, in there with the overalls on sort of manufacturing, there's a whole plethora of things that comes with that. So it's not just, you know, boat building, there's a lot to it. So he's doing a lot of that. Yes, you know, it's a good career and great place to do it through this out. I just want to say that.
Blake now giving back to us. He's featured in our videos and he's also come into school and helped mentor our students. So it's just a beautiful thing to see our alumni coming back and really helping us out to get the next generation out. So thank you.
Yeah, no, and he's on the young board as well. So he does get asked to do talks online talk. So yeah, there's a great career in it, I think. And you guys at Caldown Enterprise are doing the right thing for sure.
Thank you very much.
Right, I've got a couple more minutes and I've got a couple more questions, then we're going to have to move on actually. Hugh, you've got your hand up.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Oh, I have to turn the video off. Sorry, I'm clearly too old to be able to use these things, and there's no picture. Apologies. Sorry, that was so exciting, and I really loved it. And thank you for the answer the question in the chat. Just very quickly, because I know we haven't got long. To what extent are you formalizing structures into maritime employers? Because we know that across the whole Solent, we've got a real shortage at every level. And particularly below degree level actually, but also with the next stage, so getting people their commercial ticket or the next stage of a maritime education. Are you formalizing those structures, or that's something you're planning to do?
Yes, I mean, that's what we're really excited at our next steps. So I also saw a question in the chat. I can tie the two together, I think. So the technical award will be the equivalent of a GCSE, but it's just called something slightly different. But it would have the same status, we hope, and would be available nationally for all children at GCSE level to take as a qualification. So that's one way we're really working to change the structures that are out there, particularly under the age of 16. But we're also really keen to work with other schools. So it's fantastic. All the career leads are there. Do get in touch if this is of interest, because we are, really enthusiastic about what we're doing. And although you wouldn't pick up our exact model and plop it down in another school, we got lots of experience in how you might go about thinking about your local employment and maritime industry and what that would look like for you. So yes, from our point of view, we're really keen to develop the education side, working across other schools and seeing where we can get to. And we just are very keen for the government to put the maritime qualification onto performance tables. So that decision hasn't yet been made, but if it can do that, then it's got the real potential to be a course that thousands of children will take every year.
And we dropped that into the conversation with the permanent secretary, didn't we, when she visited?
Yeah, we certainly
got to
did.
take these opportunities when they present themselves. Right, last one for now, and then I'm going to have to move on to the next speakers, I'm afraid, because of timing that they're available to be in the meeting. Munish, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Lorna and David, Rachel. Fantastic presentation. First time on the meeting. I missed a couple of few sessions. And luckily, I should be on the ship as a port captain, looking after discharging operation in London Thames. And you guys are doing great work. And my expertise go long back from commercial shipping, sailing on VLCCs. And now I have done my own setup as a Solent Marine consultants, as a flag state inspectors for different flag states, internal audits, ensuring compliance of safety and all that stuff. And have great expertise in UK higher education, especially maritime UK higher education, being ex-curriculum leader at Solent. And where I can really very fit in, where we can really, it is a great cause. We need to start it at the beginning, and you guys are really thumbs up for that great initiative, what you guys are doing. And definitely when we can build up to, after GCSE, when these cadets come for their phase 1, that is their HNC, that is a fantastic move. Though we have got dropouts in UK wise around 30 to 33%. They join it, then we drop it. I think we have keep that info maintained within the students, and it is a fantastic start. And pathways wise, there is no limit. Every day is a new day in shipping, and we are part of global chain, and it is international trade. I myself have sailed all over the world, and opportunities are huge. London being our maritime hub of the world, so it is not just the sailing. There is a fantastic opportunities coming ashore, as you guys are, as you guys have mentioned. So feel free to pin me email if I'm not in auditing the ships or visiting the ships for some reason, sorting out the issues with the ships. Give me a shout. I'm more than happy to come over, give a talk to these students.
That's absolutely fantastic.
And share my experience, first-hand experience of dealing with the ships.
That's wonderful. We must find out how to get in touch with you. Lorna can help with that, can't you? Thank you. And it's that kind of dropout rate that we're looking to address, because children that we hope will be feeding into those higher level courses will have had so much more time to really understand the decision making and to be committed to it and to know what it is that they're signing up to. So that's the kind of issue that we're looking to address with the project. Yeah,
fantastic. By all means.
Sorry, if I can just say, and then I really am going to have to move on. You know, in careers theory, we know that children start to close doors down on potential careers by the time they're 7 or 8. They're already saying, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that. I think what's wonderful about this is we are just opening children's eyes and ears and their minds to the breadth of opportunities in the sector. And if I can just put a little plug in, Munish, you're obviously talking about doing a talk. As the Solent LEP runs its Enterprise Advisors program, where we ask business people to volunteer to do exactly that, to support schools and colleges locally with their careers program and help to bring industry expertise and new technology information and new local economy information into the school, and to work with the schools. We've got 101 in the Careers Hub in the Solent, but to help the schools to develop their careers program so they are best fit for purpose for the local economy. So if there's anyone in this call that I haven't nagged about this before, hasn't heard that before, would like to talk to me about being perhaps one of our enterprise advisors and supporting a school or college, we're really keen at the LEP. You know, 20% of the local economy is directly linked to the maritime sector. Therefore, at least 20% of our enterprise advisors in the 101 schools ought to be maritime people. I'll just get that little plug in again. Someone said the other day, they described me as very persuasive. I think what they were saying was that I nag. Anyway, Rachel and David, thank you so much for that. I'm so glad you're able to join us. If people think of other questions, stick them in the chat and we'll see if we can pick them up that way, or we can pass them on by email afterwards. But I really am going to have to move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, lovely to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to go back to Matthew at DWP, but our next speakers are the Royal Navy, actually, and they've got a hard stop at 10 o'clock and they need to leave to go back to another meeting. So I'm going to move things around a bit. I've got Commander Sarah Bald with us this morning, who's going to talk about the Royal Navy's apprenticeship programme. And I think what we'll do, in the interest of time, I'm probably as well just to hand straight over to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to share, hopefully it's going to share okay, else this will be a little bit more painful for me. So looking into Royal Navy apprenticeships, thank you very much for the welcome, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to brief here today. And although I've got a hard stop at 10 o'clock, there is a member of my team who's also on. So if there are any questions that I can't stay and answer, he will be able to answer them as well. So the Royal Navy Apprenticeship Programme has been a growing programme over the last few years. We now have nearly 6,000 apprentices on it across a whole spectrum of specialisations. And I'm just going to cover today a little bit about our programme, a little bit how we're looking at recruitment, and then some of the other opportunities that we're hoping to capitalise on. There was a video to play. It won't play when I practice, so I'm not going to try and do it now. But there are videos on YouTube if you want to look at any of our about life as a Royal Navy apprentice and what they can, the experiences that they will be able to discuss. So as I said, Royal Navy apprenticeships cover across all the spectrums of delivery, and maritime is really important to us, and I'll come to that when we talk about the future. We train within all of our training establishments. So within the Solent, we have got the HMS Collingwood and HMS Solent as our key deliverables, where we look at really some of our STEM and digital opportunities. But the apprenticeship scheme is more than just what we're delivering. It's how we utilise it through the Navy. And one of the key things is we have developed a programme which is accessible to everyone, and it can bring out the potential in all of our people. And it's something that's been picked up with the successful Made in the Royal Navy advertisements. So social mobility is really important. We've got apprenticeships for everyone, irrespective of someone's background, ethnicity, educational qualifications. There is something so that someone can be made in the Royal Navy, and apprenticeships form the foundation building blocks to enable this. 100%, 98% now of new recruits are enrolled on an apprenticeship scheme, a combination of level 2 and level 3 programmes sitting across all sectors. And on successful completion of your apprenticeship, everyone is on a full-time job, because you're joining the Royal Navy, and through doing that you are being given an amazing accreditation opportunities. The majority of our specialisations have got progression routes in place, and where they aren't already there, we are developing them now. Younger cohorts and those directly leaving education are some people who are potentially overlooked by other apprenticeship offers out there, but we are well represented in the Royal Navy. 16 to 18-year-olds represent 17% of our apprenticeship totals. So we have a huge number. We're not targeting that audience, but we know that we've got something really great to offer people. And then to complement the initial offer, we have pathways through to degree for everyone, which includes a growing degree apprenticeship offer, which we're piloting at the moment. So all of these schemes combined means that at the moment, 15% of the Royal Navy at any one time are an apprentice. We also understand the importance of reinvesting money. So we commit to reinvesting 100% of the funds that we draw down through delivering apprenticeships. And some of these examples include the leasing of the training vessel Tenacious, which allowed us to offer apprentices the opportunity to challenge themselves in different maritime environments. And importantly, we did this during COVID restrictions. So whereas we had to maintain our training through COVID, we had to make sure we were delivering people to the front line, but so many of the opportunities were limited. So we managed to have this opportunity available, which received amazing feedback. Military training is often arduous, and we are committed to ensuring that apprentices are fully supported back to health when our training may break them. And here is the Rehabilitation Center, which we funded for the Royal Marine recruits in Lympstone. We've provided sports facilities throughout the Royal Navy, including implementing outdoor equipment in case of future lockdowns. We've learned from what our apprentices feed back to us. Funds have been utilised to install state-of-the-art simulation equipment to enhance the fidelity of our training, which includes what I would describe as a laser quest system. The Royal Marines don't like that when I call it that, but it is fundamentally that. It's a safe way of practicing battlefield environments. And also we know the importance of rewarding and celebrating the diverse and impressive achievements of apprentices. So we hold annual Royal Navy Apprenticeship Awards. And this was one that took place, and they take place on board HMS Victory. So it's a really lovely occasion to celebrate the success stories. The quality of training is vital to the Royal Navy because there's a serious side of what we do. Our apprentices are trained to immediately undertake critical roles within operational units. Oh, apologies. So they could be operating nuclear systems, working on various weapon systems, maintaining aircraft, feeding thousands in austere conditions, or undertaking infantry roles on land and at sea. And so our apprentices have to be afforded the opportunity to carry out those roles, and we have to be confident in the training we're providing them that they can do them. And then in addition to the primary roles, there will be secondary duties, which are just as important, such as fire responders or conducting armed sentry duties. The off-the-job training ensures that the facilities and instructions prepare apprentices for the roles that they're embarking on. Normally, this is well in excess of the 20% minimum, and we ensure that apprentices get all of the underpinning knowledge, skills and behaviours so they're safe to proceed, as well as getting their accreditation. Our on-the-job training is where I think we have this real unique element compared to other apprenticeship offers. You could be on a ship, submarine, Royal Marine unit, or shore establishment, and it's structured and monitored to ensure the apprentice experiences the breadth of their role. And key to being a Royal Navy apprentice is that they are afforded the opportunity to carry out full roles within the unit. They may be under training, but they are conducting real roles. And then alongside our structured training, we have a consistent training and mentoring and support program, which runs through the life of the apprenticeship and beyond. Some pictures of where our apprentices are undertaking their roles, just to highlight the diverse conditions and things that you would imagine that they undertake on board different units. We have absolute faith in our system and believe that the totality of our offer is world class. And this has been validated by external organisations. We are rated Ofsted outstanding. We do have one of the best achievement rates in the country for large employers. And next week we're through to the finals for 2 categories at the National Apprenticeship Awards as the Macro Employer of the Year and the Recruitment Excellence Award. And we've got a Princess Royal Training Award. So I'm obviously going to sit here and say that our programme is excellent, but it is benchmarked and it does stand up against other organisations. But continuous improvement is a requirement. We don't sit on our laurels. We don't think that our programme is going to maintain this excellence. And so we want to continuously improve. So diversity is one of the areas where we have to, when we look at ourselves, we have to consider this. The Royal Navy suffers underrepresentation of groups in society who we would dearly love to include, and we must do better on this. So, especially when you take into account that since 2016, all roles within the armed forces are open to women. So for us, that meant the Royal Marines and the submarine service have some significant catch up to do with this. And perception. So for us, we still struggle with people that don't understand apprenticeships and what they offer. They're still seen as a classical form of accreditation by so many, or just a form of accreditation that engineers do. And so we're trying to break down those barriers and show what a huge opportunity we have here. So for example, the warfare branch do one of the most unique specialist roles on board our units, and it can be very hard to explain in a civilian life what that role is. So we've mapped the level 3 data technician standard against the role that they do. So when they do take their secondary role into the civilian street, that they've got something which shows how competent they are and the training that they've received. And then we want to increase our breadth of offer. As I said, we've got a comprehensive entry-level programme, but we want to look at more of what we can do from a progression perspective. And then alongside our internal messaging that needs to work on, we've got 3 specific work strands. So we work with the recruiters to speak directly with the underrepresented groups. You cannot be what you cannot see, and that's a mantra that's really important to me. So we cannot hope to see better diversity if we're not reaching out and making sure harder to reach areas are getting our message. So we're placing apprenticeship support into outreach events, not designed solely to recruit, but also to inform and engage, to normalise the presence of having Royal Navy personnel. And for some of these people, they've never seen it before. So it starts that conversation piece. Our BAME representation has risen from 2.3% in 2017 to 6.7% in 2020. So it is beginning to work. We are seeing some real improvements. In the next academic year, we're hoping to commission a study to look at why BAME sailors are leaving and whether there's anything that we can do to manage the delta of their expectations and how we're meeting their requirements. Similarly, between 2017 and 2020, our female representation has risen from 9.7% to 11.7%. But if you take out those areas where I mentioned before, the Royal Marines and the submarine service, where we've not been able to have women before, we've got 17.2% women representation. So it is growing, and it is really important to try and settle this balance. In 2020, we were announced as one of the top 50 employers for women. So it shows the efforts that we're making to make these improvements. Now, by no means are we saying we're there, but it is important, and it all links in with the apprenticeship program, using the apprenticeship program to attract people. And we have capitalised on some of the opportunities that were presented during the COVID pandemic of using virtual events such as these to reach people that maybe we weren't able to reach before. So classically, we were going to events that were already aimed at people looking at joining the armed forces, which is great, obviously. But actually, we're now looking at events of people that are interested in apprenticeships more. So it's about attracting people that didn't maybe put the two together. They knew they wanted to do an apprenticeship, but they didn't realise that you could do it in the armed forces, and some of the excellent opportunities that we do offer. We're making a real concerted effort to place apprentices at the centre of our workforce. It is a golden strand that goes from the recruitment piece to our, we call them lives. So it's a live well, a train well. So we're using apprenticeships as that strand throughout people's careers until they eventually decide to leave the Navy. And we do have some really exciting opportunities. And it's all about linking it to this expansion of progression routes. So one of the opportunities we're looking at the moment, it's not a progression route, but it's going to be our first apprenticeship opportunity available to officer specialisations at the moment. They're all linked to the rating cadres. And we're looking at the Officer of the Watch 500 apprenticeship, whether we can offer that to all of our warfare officers. And at the moment, the mapping work's being undertaken to how we can deliver that. But it's a hugely exciting opportunity because it's looking at having MCA accredited qualifications for people, which ties in with all of our maritime strategy, which is key. But also it is giving it to different cohorts of the Royal Navy. And it would be the first officer delivered apprenticeship across the armed forces. So again, it shows how the Royal Navy is trying to lead the way for the whole of the armed forces, although I'm sure the Army and the RAF wouldn't want me to say that, but it's true. And we participate in a lot of trailblazers still. We understand the importance of making sure that the accreditation and the apprenticeships that are being developed are fit so that we can use them and we can bring them to life in our very unique working opportunities. Oh. Screen is frozen. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope I've covered some points which were interesting and covered some of the issues that are surrounding, and I'm happy to stay on if there are any questions for 5 minutes or so.
That was terrific. Thank you, Sarah. Much appreciated. I think what you've just demonstrated is exactly what we were saying earlier in the meeting, actually, that kind of any job that you want to follow, there's an opportunity to do that in the maritime sector. And it sounds like any apprenticeship that you want to do in the maritime sector, you can do with the Royal Navy. That's, perhaps being a bit blasé, but my goodness, what an exciting range of qualifications. Any quick questions from anybody? Oh, Gordon, you've got your hand up. Hello.
Hello. I just try and put my hand back down again now. Can you hear me okay, Lorna?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Right. Oh no, I've still got my hand up. God, what a technophobe. Oh no, I've got thumbs up. Anyway, unfortunately, I dialed in a bit late because of a few connection problems, but I'd be really keen to have a chat with you, Sarah. But we're developing an apprenticeship along through a trailblazer group, but in the autonomous systems side and on crewed vessel ops, and I don't think we've ever had a chat. So it'd be brilliant if possible. I'm also sorry. I'd love to see your presentation again. I was sorry if we could perhaps catch up at some point. It was more of a question, more of a reaching out rather than a question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Please feel free to, if anyone wants to get my contact details from Lorna to touch base with me. One thing I didn't say is that we've realised, and it's through some of these events that we've done, that we don't have the best representation maybe in the local community in Portsmouth, which is actually quite sad. So we have looked at whether we can engage a bit better with some of the schools and colleges. The UTC does quite a lot because it's got the Navy links already, but we are looking at ways that we can engage better with local businesses and colleges and schools. So if there is anything, please feel free to touch base with me.
Great, thank you very much. Marvellous.
And Hugh, you've got your hand up.
Brilliant, thank you. I'll be very quick because I know you have to go.
No, you're fine, honestly.
It was really interesting. It was fascinating. just to be clear, is this are the similar schemes right across all the services, or is this more specific to the Navy and Marines? And one of the particular area of interest for me is A-level students as an alternative to a degree, but getting a degree. Is that something that it's really incorporated within this? I know you referred to the undergraduate apprentice scheme, so I'm assuming yes. And how should people find out more?
So the first part of the question, the other two services do have really comprehensive and excellent apprenticeship programs too. They don't obviously have the maritime specifics, and also we cross over. So where the Army have got the port and maritime squadrons, we train their personnel in the same maritime standards as ours. So we do a crossover where required, where it works. We have a STEM program which is open to everyone, which I think maybe the RAF is a little bit limiting in some of their entry requirements. Our slogan of Royal Navy really is what it is. We will take people who've got the passion to join, that have got no prior qualifications, and they can build a very, very successful STEM career, which is something that I'm hugely proud of, because I think it's not an offer that you'll get many other places. With regard to your A-level students, it depends on how they want to join and what they're wanting to join. We do have recruitment offices, and everything can be started online. So if they go into the Royal Navy careers section, you can start a virtual conversation. We have accelerated apprenticeship routes into the Royal Navy now, taking into account that there are people with higher prior learning. And so for us, it's getting people to the front line faster, which is really important, but also making sure that people are getting that recognition for what they've done previously. So we do have accelerated routes, and we have specific ones for the submariners as well. So that undergraduate, the UGAS scheme, as it was called, was that we would take people with a level 3 qualification. They would be, and then they were supported to be able to reach a degree until within 8 years of being in service and getting their nuclear watchkeeper tickets as well. So there are some really comprehensive routes in, and there are some more, we've got the very foundation level, which is open to everyone, but there are some higher level entry routes. So I think the best thing is to look at the Royal Navy website, but if you need any further support, either touch base with me and we can link you in as required.
Brilliant. No, thank you. That's great. Can I just ask one supplemental? I hear anecdotally that the recruitment process, I think you use the capita scheme, is somewhat cumbersome and clunky. Are the plans to take it out and shoot it, or improve it, or some such?
So we're always looking at ways to improve it, and we listen to the feedback. So I know there have been issues. And also the other thing that makes our system a little bit more complicated is that it depends on the requirements. So we have to look at what we operationally need for the Royal Navy, which is where some of the time delays can come in as well. It's not so much the clunky front end of the system, it's that we don't want to bring people in if they're not needed operationally. And so that's where some of the time delays can have. Or some of the specialist training is only conducted at certain times of the year. So joining the Navy has to be done in line with that to ensure a clean progression route. All I can say is that I think all systems have some issues. We have identified them, we are learning, and we are trying to make improvements. So hopefully if someone's experienced a more clunky system, they will see some improvements moving forward. But again, if you feel free to use me or my team as a conduit if there are any issues, and I will try and link you in where I can.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I don't see any more hands up, and I think we're going to have to move on. That's fantastic, a set of information, Sarah. Thank you so much. My takeaways from that, as I think I said to you before, were that, you know, the guarantee that there's a job at the end of the apprenticeship is just fantastic. And I love the work. I love the fact that the Royal Navy is so committed to the communities that it works with, and this kind of positive discrimination, if you like, attraction activity into postcodes where you're not traditionally getting those applicants from, the under 16s, is a really fantastic piece of work. And hopefully that raises aspirations, it raises excitement, it raises interest, and then once they're past that school leaving age, they can get a bit more involved with the recruitment activity. But just a massive thank you from all of us for you sharing that with us. That was brilliant. Thank you.
No, not at all. And I saw someone ask my contact details. Lauren, are you happy to share those with?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if that's okay.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Right, we're going to go back to Matt from Job Centre Plus, because we lost him because the internet was playing games with us halfway through. Matt, we've got about another 5 or 6 minutes. Is that okay? Because you were about halfway through, weren't you?
Yes, thank you very much. And apologies, everyone, for my technical issues. They are at my end. The department only adopted Zoom a few months ago, and I think there's a few gremlins in the system still. I've closed all my other apps, so hopefully that will enable things to run a bit more smoother. So I think I disappeared somewhere around this slide. So if I was talking about the job placement, so employers must help the young person on the Kickstart scheme to become more employable, and employers can do this by helping individuals to develop new skills in the workplace. Also look for long-term work if there isn't the intention to retain the individual after 6 months of the Kickstart placement. You can provide careers advice to the young person, and also support with CV preparations and interview preparations too. I think I just moved on to checks, and as a department we do checks to ensure that employers deliver quality job placements for young people. So before we issue any grant funding, we do check that the employer has a plan to provide support within a specific timescale. So that might be, for example, halfway through the job placement or towards the end, how many hours that support will take to deliver, the kind of support that will be offered, and also how that you as an employer will monitor the support and enable a young person to provide any feedback to you. So if grant funding is approved, you'll be invited to submit job applications for the role or the roles that you're offering. And just one tip about the job descriptions, just keep them straightforward and in plain English, as for many young people this is their very first job application, so you may not be used to some of the language that we use when describing certain job responsibilities and in-person specifications. The deadline for employers applying for the Kickstart scheme is on midday on Friday the 17th of December this year. So a little over 3 weeks from now. Once approved to offer Kickstart, you can spread the start date of your job placement or placements up until the end of Thursday, the 31st of March next year, 2022. And that will enable you as an employer to get the full 6 months of funding if job placements start no later than the end of March. So a young person can speak to their work coach about the Kickstart scheme to find out more, and our work coaches in Job Centre Plus are proactively discussing Kickstart with their caseloads where they see an individual is eligible. Young people can also search themselves for Kickstart vacancies using our Find a Job website too. It's then down to the young person to apply for the Kickstart vacancy and follow the application process set by you, the employer. Our job centres also run weekly Kickstart recruitment events, and we invite Kickstart employers to those where you can meet young people who we then encourage to dress as if they're attending a job interview, and these events regularly end in Kickstart job offers being made there and then if the employer is happy to make an offer, of course, or even scheduling future interview dates for the young person. Could I have the next slide, please? So this is a quote from one of our Kickstart employers, Pompey in the Community, who we work closely with in Portsmouth area. Pompey in the Community, for those who don't know, are an award-winning charity which harnesses the motivational power of Portsmouth Football Club. And their Chief Executive Officer, Claire Martin, said, "Our Kickstarters are brilliant. We're loving having some youngsters around bouncing with enthusiasm. I think it's such a positive programme." And, you know, that's really, really positive feedback. And other employers who have taken on young people have said very similar things. We have a lot of good news stories around Kickstart. Jim Hill, who is the team principal of Classic Race Simulators in Farnborough up in the north of Hampshire, even produced a short video with DWP about his experience taking on Kickstart employees. The Classic Race Simulators Kickstart video is available on YouTube should you wish to view it. It's about 7 minutes long. Could I have a next slide, please? And to summarise, Kickstart provides funding to create new job placements for 16 to 24-year-olds on universal credit at risk of long-term unemployment, and there's no limit on the number of places an employer can offer. As I said, they must be new jobs and not replace existing or planned vacancies, and we will pay the wage cost covering 100% of national minimum wage relevant to age for up to 25 hours per week for a total of 6 months. We also pay national insurance contributions and minimum automatic enrolment pension contributions too. Employers receive £1,500 for every Kickstart job placement they set up, and that is for the setup costs to support the young person to develop their employability skills too. Employers can apply for the Kickstart Scheme grant online, either themselves or getting help through a Kickstart Gateway who's already working with the scheme. And as I said, just as a reminder, you can apply for the scheme grant up until midday on Friday the 17th of December. So get your applications in as soon as possible if you haven't done so already, as you've got a little over 3 weeks remaining. And could I have the final slide, please? Thank you. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email the address on the screen, and I'll also post the details in the chat now as well. There are many elements to the Kickstart scheme, and we have teams spread all throughout the country dealing with those different elements. So depending on the nature of the question, I can direct you to and link you in with the relevant team. I hope that's okay. Thank you once again to Lorna and to Maritime UK for giving me the opportunity to discuss the Kickstart scheme this morning. Please do get in touch with any questions, and thank you for listening, and thank you once again for your patience with the technical issues. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. So the key dates there are the 17th of December. If you haven't already registered with the Kickstart scheme and you would like to, you have only got till then to get involved. I've spoken to employers. I saw the quotes there in your presentation, Matt. Thank you for that. I've spoken to employers. Portsmouth City Council were one of them, actually, and I think Mark's in the call today. I'm sure I saw your name there, and he was talking about the quality of the applicants. And you put your camera on, Mark. Perhaps you want to add to that. But I remember that day when you were talking about being blown away by the quality of the applicants on your Kickstart scheme there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had 3, and one of them we managed to get an apprentice post as an economic growth assistant within our team, and that was mainly because of the quality of those 3 Kickstarters. And we made a really strong case because they helped us so much coming out of the pandemic, helping with the retail recovery in Portsmouth. And so we managed to get a bit of extra money to get an apprentice post, and we made it available to those 3 Kickstarters, and one of them was successful in getting it. Joe Pottle, and he's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, absolutely, really endorse the scheme. And guess what? We've just put in for 3 more Kickstarters for my team to replace the 3 that we had. And so the only thing I would say, Matt, it's a bit slower at the moment to get the CVs through. So I don't know whether it just means there's so many jobs in the system, but yeah, I've had to wait a little bit for getting those CVs through. So in fact, I've just pushed again today with Brittany, who looks after it in the council, to see if we can get some CVs through for those 3 posts. Oh, the other question is, if say someone starts after the 17th, but you've put the post in, it's still okay, isn't it? Once you've got the post in, it's okay.
Absolutely, yes. It's the 17th of December is the deadline for employers to apply for the grant funding for Kickstart, but employers can start a young person on a Kickstart placement up until the end of the 31st of March 2022.
Okay, thank you for that. And thanks for the opportunity to speak quickly about our experience, Lorna.
No problem. I'm not very good with names, but I never forget a face. And quotes like the one that you gave me about the quality of the candidates. I think it's easy for us to assume that these sorts of schemes are to support the unemployable. And I don't think that's the thought behind it at all. When you look at the stats as to which demographic have been most greatly affected by the impact on jobs because of the pandemic, it's those young people, and it's a vehicle to get them into employment. And so if it's something that's of interest to you, if your organisation could support a young person or a couple of young people, you've got the links. But thank you, Matt. Brilliant. Really I'm glad you're able to stay with us a second time. Okay, last speaker for today then. Gordon, you were with us last time, and then after the meeting, you said to me, Gordon from CBOT, you said to me, I didn't talk about, and I'm not going to steal your thunder, could I come back to the next meeting just to add that to your previous presentation, really? And here you are. So can I hand over to you?
Yeah, by all means, thank you very much, Lorna. If I just want to share my screens, and I literally just arrived. I was able to connect in time. Real connection problems this morning, so I'll just try and share my screen. So I'm working innovative. Greetings from Aberdeen. This is a whole new. I haven't been in Scotland in 2 years, and I haven't been in a plane in 2 years, and I ticked both of those boxes yesterday. So let me just try and share my screen quickly. Lorna, can I ask you, can you see the CBOT? Big blue screen, superstar, thanks very much. How long have I got? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, we've got until past, so it's going to have to be a bit of a whistle stop, sorry. Okay,
well, let's whiz through it. Okay, thank you. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Gordon Meadow. I run a company called CBOT. We have I guess we've moved into more of a group model. As we increase the types of business that we work in and the offering. But our core focus is about improving people technology to make maritime safer, cleaner, and smarter. That's why we're in existence. I'm here to talk about how we're building a remote autonomous workforce in the United Kingdom and abroad, and also kind of more specifically, sorry, just bear with me. How we're using the apprenticeship scheme as a defence and civilian workforce enabler, as a mechanism to be able to help to provide the correct qualifications and the funding to upskill a new workforce in this kind of context. Okay, so the world's in a changing place, not just in the skills. Then this is really what I want to do is really set the context. The worker demographic is going to be more diverse as our working environment changes, and I'm going to sort of refer to in the context of maritime. Decision support technology will combine with established rules, analytical tools, deliver these kind of objective, repeatable actions with humans working in and off the loop as we interact with new technologies. Decision support capabilities will not just accelerate and augment human decision making in real time, making us more superhuman. By 2050, we could see more than 50% of our operational functions mimicked by machines. But this doesn't mean less people, and that's crucial. Robots are not a significant threat to the employment opportunities. The threat to employment comes about from failing to adapt through retraining and the simulation of new skills to perform new functions through continual professional development. The future, therefore, will see new ways of working and a more highly trained workforce with new skills and with different roles, new career routes to support different operational requirements. However, these changes to the seafaring skills demographic require clear preparation. We see a number of macro drivers for this change across all industry. On the screen, you can see kind of two kind of rows. These two themes, along the top line, the impact of and the implementation of cognitive computing. Shipping, for example, maritime, will see a move from automation of the brawn to automation of the brain. We see this across all industries. However, the implementation of this is debatable in the way that's implemented. We have this obsession with AI, but what we kind of are trying to champion is the whole idea of IA, intelligent automation, in terms of teaming of humans and machines, not replacing with humans. So we see this progress in this intelligent automation way. We also see it as a partnership, not as a threat. There are some occupations that will migrate, some occupations that might not be required anymore, but it is a progression. We also see along the bottom line is that so as adults, most of us mean well, but we are the nature of kind of being an adult is that it means that we're understanding the world less and less. In the past, it was a relatively safe bet to follow the adults because the adults knew the world quite well, and the world changed slowly. But the 21st century is different because of the increasing pace of change. You can never be quite certain whether what the adults are telling you is timeless wisdom or outdated bias based on this technological impact. So we see a change in the way that younger people are kind of upskill their knowledge and so on, because it's becoming more and more difficult to keep up with technology, and that has an impact on training. So if we think of this as a case study, this is a case study in maritime. Let's look at maritime and how the UK are attempting to position themselves at the future of maritime. People sit right at the center of that, and we see all of these new technologies coming in. Well, we need to rethink how we integrate that technology. And as an organisation, we try to do that in that integration of people and new equipment. So you can see on the screen, the Department of Transport have laid down this kind of new roadmap as how we implement that. But what I want to share is some of the ways, and hopefully we're trying to do that through using the apprenticeship route and understanding the needs of this new workforce. So for me, we are attempting to incorporate human performance and enhanced capability through partnership. It's not versus, it's with. So working with machines, not for them. So to the future of autonomous systems, pinching the term from Lockheed Martin, isn't human less, it's human more, we describe it as. So in the context of this changing nature of operations and working, if you let's look at shipping and our infrastructure. So we've got conventional shipping, and we have a regulator and regulations through IMO, and we have a system where we have an international agreement on standards of safety and so on. From that, we have SCW. SCW defines competencies. From that, we have teaching institutions that emerge that are fit for purpose with the right equipment and the people and instructors and the training infrastructure that can deliver on those competencies. But if we look at the move towards working differently for uncrewed systems, smart shipping, and so on, the regulations and the regulator and the ways of working are elementary. So the only way to truly carry out training is to match the operational requirement. But if we don't truly understand the operational environment, we can't then identify the task statements, and from that we can't then identify the knowledge, skills, and abilities. So it's this process that we have to go through. So as an organization, with our partners, we work together to try and help to create those standards and those regulations, where we created the Mass People group, and that's the first tier. Mass People working group will safeguard progression in the technology people partnership, identifying workforce changing needs and providing recommendations and new competency standards, as well as proposing specialisms, training structures, and qualification requirements for operators now and in the future to help this transition within shipping and working differently. There are now 10 flag state administrations, including CBOT and FUGRO, involved in this. So this is one way that we're trying to help us kind of move forward and help the UK to carry out its ambition, or fulfill its ambition on in new ways of working and leading the kind of charge. The other ways are understanding, reverting back to this new changing operational requirement and how we work. So I'm sat here in Aberdeen, and we work with an organisation called FUGRO to help them understand how the workforce changes. So this is what you're going to see are two. This is a local operations centre, and I'll just play the video, and you'll see in front of you, you'll see a master mariner controlling a vehicle from 25 miles away. So you see the radar and the general setup, and then next to that we have an ROV operator, all working remotely, and this is actually this is in the port of Rotterdam, and then someone controlling the comms on the right hand side. There's no one on board with the same sort of skills, but there is a skills gap. So you identify what the skills gap is, and then implement the training to migrate that workforce. This is the other side. That's called a ROC, a Remote Operations Center. So again, it's about the bridge of a ship, but on this one, you get kind of different functions. So we can see in front of me, so where I'm sat, I said, so the mission control element to the left-hand side, is ROV operations. In the middle is the engineer doing the assessment, and the ROV operator enabling the engineer to see what's going on, and then the mission control for the operations. And again, it's all new ways of working and understanding these new ways of working. So what we've done is to try and think about how we enable the workforce. So we see that migration of the workforce will enable the workforce through the apprenticeship scheme. And what I've tried to do is kind of a bit of a long story, but I've tried to kind of set the context of where we're at as to why we've gotten to this point. So we're developing an apprenticeship scheme, the first one of which will be a maintainer operator. This is a new workforce to be able to operate surface and subsurface vehicles across a range of devices. Now, this is also to enable both the defence sector and the civilian world to use the apprenticeship scheme as an enabler and funding to develop the workforce and the people. As we move forward, we'll be looking at how we provide an apprenticeship scheme for remote operation centres, and also how we get the right facilities and people in place to be able to deliver for this workforce and upskill this workforce. If anybody would like to talk to me about joining our Trailblazer group as an employer, or as a just general interest, and you'd like to find out more, I'd be delighted to be able to kind of jump on a call and have a chat and really share the kind of work that we're trying to do to implement this workforce and help ultimately upskill the workforce, migrate them, and reduce the risk by effective training. This is the start of the journey. There's lots and lots to do as we start working differently. You know, we're working 25 miles offshore here. We're going to start working on the other side of the world very soon. You know, there's lots more to work out, but we only know what we know now. In the future, this is a NASA mission control center, but the more we work at smart shipping and the more we work on uncrewed operations, the more we need to find out in terms of managing information. There's just different skills, but we're at the start of that journey, and I think the UK is really leading in that, and I'm proud. I'm really genuinely proud that we are doing that. There's lots to, you know, lots of infrastructure to work out in terms of all of the functions and so on. But we are at the start of that journey, and we're solving some of the problems. Certainly a long way to go, but that's it. If anyone would like to talk to me about it, then please get in contact.
Thank you, Gordon. Whistle stop, but really exciting. I think when we have these meetings, I'm always left at the end of them thinking how lucky we are that all of this is going on in our part of the country, and how that's all feeding to an absolutely thriving maritime sector locally, but obviously has an impact nationally and internationally as well. So for those people that have spoken with us today, we will record these meetings. There'll be a recording available afterwards. We'll be emailing you all with a link to that on the YouTube channel, but we'll share the presentations with you as well. We're over time. There's always so much to talk about here. The next meeting is the 15th of December. We'll get the Eventbrite registration form out to you, hopefully by the end of this week, possibly by early next week. I've already got 3 speakers on the agenda. Eastleigh College, for one reason or another, weren't able to present this morning, but they're coming to talk to us about adult education programs and funding opportunities to help businesses with their succession planning and future proofing and such like, including a new project management apprenticeship, which is quite exciting. We've got Kinetic coming. Philip Holmes is coming to talk to us about some work that they've been doing and the new innovation hub that they have developed. And we're going to meet Joe Johnson and Andy Parkins, who are part of Solent Mayors. Andy Stewart, who I'm sure lots of you are familiar with and have been in meetings with, has gone back from his secondment back to BAE. And Joe Johnston and Andy Parkins are going to join us and introduce themselves and give us a bit of an update as to the work that's going on there. So there's still space for 1 or 2 extra speakers. 15th of December, I've said it before, it's Christmas jumpers next month, and we'll see you then. But if there's no more questions, just a huge thank you to all our speakers this morning. We'll share that information with you, and we'll see you all again in December.